Well, let's swing over to our right for our business updates. And I'm joined here by Yuka Roya. Hi there, Yuka.
Hi.
Now, we're starting with the latest development in the ongoing trade battle between the world's two biggest economies. US President Donald Trump has opened the door, including to Huawei, in a deal with Beijing. What's going on there?
Well, that's right. Well, President Trump said that the US complaints against Huawei could be resolved in the framework of an eventual trade deal with China. But the president continued to call it very dangerous. Washington placed Huawei on a trade blacklist last week, citing national security concerns, effectively banning US firms from doing business with the Chinese company after the latest round of trade talks fell apart. James Vasagina reports.
A new announcement that could be instrumental in easing the trade war. On Thursday, Donald Trump appeared to be ready to reverse his hardline stance on the Chinese telecom giant, despite calling it a threat to national security.
Huawei is something that's very dangerous. You look at what they've done from a security standpoint, from a military standpoint, it's very dangerous. If we made a deal, I could imagine Huawei being possibly included in some form of, or some part of a trade deal.
The world's two largest economies are in a race for leadership in the rollout of 5G technology. And the US has raised concerns Huawei equipment could be used to spy on other countries. Data that's at risk of falling into the government's hands, but accusations that the company has repeatedly denied.
To say that they don't work with the Chinese government is a false statement.
There's a law that they must work if asked.
He's required to, by Chinese law, to do that. So it's just the Huawei CEO, on that at least, isn't telling the American people the truth.
The US launched a trade war with China last year after accusing it of unfair trading practices, sparking a tit-for-tat tariff battle between the two countries. Last week, Washington placed Huawei on its trade blacklist, a move that has prompted other firms across the world to distance themselves from the Chinese telecom.
While trade tensions continue to weigh on Asian markets, although Chinese shares managed to come back above the flat line as the trading session went on towards the afternoon. European markets, though, opened moderately higher on the last day of trading of the week, with London's FTSE up 1/3 of a percentage point and Paris's CAC 40 up 0.5%. French Finance Minister Bruno Le Maire visited the Ascoval steel plant, seeking to reassure worried workers about their future. The site in northern France was taken over earlier this month by British Steel, which then collapsed and went into liquidation on Wednesday. Unions are worried about the future of the plant and are criticising the government for allowing the takeover. Le Maire insisted that the branch of British Steel, which bought the site, was legally separate from the bankrupt arm and that the deal would still go ahead.
We continue to believe in the takeover of Ascoval by British Steel. There are immediate issues because of British Steel's financial situation, but the project is viable. And the Ascoval steel plant has a future, because we want to have a French steel-making tool that's powerful and that allows us to guarantee the production of a certain number of products.
Turning now to Boeing and the global grounding of its 737 MAX jets. Civil aviation regulators from around the world met in Texas on Thursday to discuss whether the model would be safe to fly again. But they failed to agree on a timetable for the jet's return to the air. After an all-day meeting with officials from more than 30 countries, the chief of the US Federal Aviation Administration, however, said he was hopeful other regulators would lift their bans on the plane soon after the FAA does. The agency reportedly told a separate meeting of airline officials in Canada that the plane could be cleared for flight as early as late June. Boeing has yet to submit a formal application for a software update designed to avoid malfunctions like the one linked to 2 recent fatal crashes. Going up higher, SpaceX has just launched a Falcon 9 rocket carrying 6 communication satellites into low Earth orbit. The 60 satellites are the first batch of around 12,000 to be used in the firm's space-based internet service, Starlink. Each weighing about 230 kilograms, the materials constituted the heaviest payload carried aloft by a SpaceX rocket ever and have successfully been placed in an orbit spinning 400 kilometers above Earth. SpaceX aims to provide a high-speed internet connection to paying customers, first in the United States and then around the world, but is facing stiff competition against the likes of Amazon and Airbus-backed OneWeb. And that wraps up the business.
Thank you very much, Yuka Roya, for that update.